Hello and welcome to Transformation Time. My name is Caro, a transformational speaker, writer, blogger, and movable optimist, serial entrepreneur. And I'm here to help you become the best version of yourself in your personal life as well as your business. Today we are talking value. We'll be right back. Hello and welcome back. Today, like I said, we are talking value. Value is something that a lot of people underestimate in their lives. And for me, I would just sum it up in the perception that you have put upon yourself, the value, the worth that you've put upon yourself, whether it's in your own perception or it's in people's perception. Now, one thing you need to remember about value is that nobody will value your worth unless you put it out there. Because if you don't put it out there, if you don't tell us what your worth is, if you don't tell us your yeses, your nos, your boundaries, we won't be in a position to take it in the way that you would want it to be taken. So one thing I always tell people, and something that I've learned recently, is so much about the clarity. It's about the purpose behind the worth. What is it that you want to value? What is it about your life? What is it about the things that you provide? What is it about the things that you do? What are your skills? What are your abilities? What are your investments? Because for me to value you in the way that you see yourself, you have to make it known. And most times we assume that people understand the value that we put upon ourselves. But understanding your value also comes from a place of you sitting down and introspecting. As you know, I love introspecting here at CMTV. And I always tell you guys now, and I'll continue saying it over and over again, that it's not so much about getting inspired, getting motivated. It's about you understanding the investment that you've put on your life. It's about understanding, your skills and your abilities. It's about understanding the things that you've been exposed to. It's about you understanding some of the things that you've taken for granted about yourself. So when it comes to you understanding your value, putting a certain mark that we should walk into and understand that this space that this person puts upon themselves is something that we should respect. Now, we cannot respect what we don't know the value of. We cannot respect what hasn't been, earned. We cannot respect something that has just been put out there for the whole world to see, not in the positive way, but in the negative way. So you need to be at a point where if you want to move from the negative side to the positive side, you need to start telling us what your worth is. I cannot guess what your business, what your life, what, the things that you value are worth unless you make it very clear. Now, some of the things that will help you to understand your value is to sort of take time to say, what is the journey that I've been on? Because remember, like I always say, transformation is not like a final destination. It's something that is ongoing. It's something that you need to sit down and understand. It's something that you need to seek out counsel, seek out advice, bringing yourself to a place of high value, because there is low value, there's, mediocre value. Then at the end of the day, there's that high value, that elite, that prestige, that value that is non-negotiable. And that's also one of the keys that you need to remember. What are you telling the world out there that is non-negotiable when it comes to you? What is the one thing that puts you at a place where somebody has to understand that if they cross this boundary, or if they, don't understand this worth, or if they do not pay a certain price for your products or services, then they are not of value to you. Because my $10, my 10 kwacha, my 10 pounds, my 10 rands is not going to be the same as somebody who values 100 rands, $100, 100 pounds, 100 kwacha. What is it about you that you're putting value on that we should then take in? Something that we should, respect, something that we should go out there knowing fully well that this is what somebody, deems as worth to themselves. And you see, the other thing is, do not wait for validation. Don't wait for validation for people to say this value that you've put out there is standard. This is like market standard. Those things are things that other people have put out there and say that is also the value. But if you know the things that you've invested in, the time that you've invested in, the things that you've taken time to transform on, to introspect on, What are you doing about it to let people know that, listen, I am not negotiating on this side of things. I'm not going to start compromising on certain issues. What are the things that you're saying? You know what? I'm coming into the marketplace. I'm coming into the industry. I'm coming into the world with the things that will not be negotiated. You need to be at a point where we need to know your value based on what you put out there. And it's about consistency. Value comes in when you're also consistent. You cannot be a 10-pound chicken today and tomorrow you're 100 pounds. You need to change. Everybody knows that regardless of the time of the year, things like turkey will always be expensive, pork will always be expensive. So if that is something that is consistent, year in, year out, are you consistent? If you're rebranding, it's a different thing, because that's something that I love. I always tell people, go for gold, get restarted. And this is not coming from a place of heresy. This is coming from a place of, having walked that path. This is coming from a place of sitting down to say, if I'm going to have a perfectly planned 2019 or, whichever year, that's coming up, what is the value that I've put on myself? When you sit down to, rebrand, when you sit down to be at a point where you start looking at things and putting one or two things together, it's because you've now moved from a place of point A value to point A2 value. You understand? You need to be at a point where you are not negotiating. You need to be at a point where we understand why you're moving from that point A to point A2. I'll give you an example. I'm a person who loves personal development. Like, I cannot go a month without investment in personal development. It doesn't matter if it's a book. It doesn't matter if it's an audio. It doesn't matter if it's a short skill course. It doesn't matter if it's a personal mastery. It doesn't matter if I'm growing from one level of something that I already know to the other. So meaning that for every single month until 12 months when the year ends, I have added value to myself, either through time, through monetary value, or through association. So all those things have to come into play. So when you say that you're valuable from, the previous month, we need to understand why. If you suddenly change, not like the currency fluctuations that we face all around the globe, you need to be at a point where we need to know where it's coming from. It needs to be some sort of like tangible, evidence. So when we are sitting down and understanding what it is that you are valuing so that we can value it, we understand that you have invested. Because if you go out there with a blank check, we are just going to put our price on you. And, when you do not value yourself, you're going to come to a place where what you think is important will not be important to somebody else. I value time. That for me is something that is top of my list. I'm a person who really values time. So when I see that I'm not reaching certain targets, when I'm not meeting certain people at a certain time, when my whole day is messed up because of time schedules and everything, that really throws me off guard. But at the same time, there's still contingencies that I've put in place to ensure that my value is not devalued, So you need to be at a point where you ask yourself, what is it about you that you value, so that when you put it out there, you are already moving with that check. You're already moving with that check from that bank, from that department, from wherever it is, from the industry, so that when we come into your space, we understand who you are, what you're about, and what your worth is about, so that there are no gray areas, so to speak. We're at a place where we understand that, you always be valuable regardless of, times and seasons and places. If you look at the brand that I'm wearing, this brand has been consistent over the years. It doesn't matter where they open a location. It doesn't matter. You are going to find them valuable. It doesn't matter what the economic status is. They are not going to drop their prices. They're not going to say, because this has happened, we're now moving our purses or our clothes from $2,000 to $200. They have said, regardless, we are going to be elite. We are going to be for people who do not think twice about price. Okay? So you need to get to that point to say, 10 years, 20 years, 15 years from now, am I going to grow in value? Am I going to be consistent? Am I going to be at a place where people will not have to negotiate my price? Because that's when counterfeits come in. And you can be a counterfeit of yourself. So are you really putting the value that you have put out there? If we come to you, are you consistent from Sunday to Sunday? If we come to you, are you consistent with the things that you do? When we come to you, are you consistent with the people that you associate with? So those are things that you need to think about when it comes to value. And more importantly, on the personal level, value who you spend time with, because the people that you spend time with are eating into your time. So who are the people that you're surrounding yourself with? Who is it that you're saying yes to on the phone? Who is it that you're giving a face-to-face meeting? Who is it that you're, jotting down emails or sending messages to? How valuable are they to you as well? Because it has to be a win-win situation. Who are the people that are speaking into your life? Who are the people that you are negotiating with? Who are the people that you're seeking counsel from? Because all that is time management, it's time value, it's things that you need to think about that will move you from one level, of success to the other. So consistency matters when it comes to your value. Understanding your worth and making it out clear, very plain for all of us to understand, being very concise with everything that you do, that will give us the clarity when it comes to us respecting the value and the worth that you put upon yourself. So I hope that today's episode has been very helpful to somebody. If you want to know more about my mentoring coaching when it comes to, understanding yourself in your personal life and your business, don't forget to follow me on social media. On Facebook, it's Caro Mushota Transformation TV. On Instagram, Twitter, Periscope, it's at Caro Mushota TT. Thank you so much, and we'll see you on the next episode. Bye-bye.